I remember clearly sitting on top of Kilimanjaro, being so excited that we had made it to summit and being completely unable to show that. It was around 8 a.m. and it was freezing, minus 15 degrees. I was exhausted because at that point I'd been awake for probably about a day. I felt horrendous. The altitude was getting to me, and I was not comfortable in my wheelchair because we did not design it to accommodate the 9 layers of clothing I was wearing to keep the cold out. All of this sounds like it adds up to a terrible experience, but it's one of the most incredible things I've ever done, and one of my proudest moments. I left a few things on that majestic mountain. Definitely a piece of my soul, and also my eyelashes. You have to be really intentional on a mountain, and I gained a special appreciation for all the things that my body does actually do for me. One thing that's quite difficult on a mountain is breathing. Sometimes you have to take a second and just breathe. So before we go any further, let's take one deep breath together. Beautiful. I have always been quite an adventurous soul, and I was always encouraged to try new things. I believe that every day is an opportunity for adventure or disaster. Even the small, seemingly mundane things. A huge part of life and any adventure is trust. The thing is, trust is hard. I'm Katie Mycroft and I have cerebral palsy. I need help with most things. I need other people to help me with regular daily tasks. And also the more adventurous activities like climbing mountains or running marathons or cycling 109 kilometers around the peninsula. And none of these things would have been possible on my own. My life would be tremendously less interesting and much more frustrating if I pretended that I could. And I'm not being defeatist when I say this. This is where I find my strength. The power of my vulnerability lies in my ownership of it. And the test of this underrated, quiet power is not just in claiming all the things I can't do. It's in learning to trust that when I share these with the world, I'm going to find people who see and appreciate that power too. When I was 18, I met someone who changed my perspective and led me to many unexpected adventures. Grant was 23 and a beast of a cyclist, and convinced me that it was a great idea to ride the Cape Town cycle tour together. I had no idea what I was getting into. I did know that I'm not the typical image that comes to mind when you say cyclist. My disability has created a balancing act within me where I'm pretty prepared for any eventuality. I'm always ready to give you the benefit of the doubt and have you show up and have everything work out perfectly. I'm also completely ready for any situation to devolve into chaos and to have to go into problem-solving, crisis management mode. In crisis management, Katie has been a bit of a main feature. And when Grant arrived, he challenged all the ideas, all the coping mechanisms that I built to protect myself from being disappointed. If I am expecting you to be uncomfortable, it's not a shock to my system when you are. But then something happened. He was completely comfortable. I was confused too. And completely on board with all the disability stuff that the world tells me people don't want to hear about or deal with. It's personal things. We don't share that. I realized in that moment that my expectations were way too low, and that there are people out there who are not afraid to take my additional needs as fact and start planning adventures. So I raised my expectations, and I started finding all these incredible people who were not afraid, who wanted to go on adventures with me. I have made history, done things I never thought I would, with people who have an attitude that I didn't know existed. I had to open my eyes and my heart to allow them into my world so that together we can change the perception around what it means to be disabled and what it means to be strong. Emily Dickinson wrote, "If your nerve deny you, go above your nerve." For me, these words represent an attitude of resistance and resilience in the face of all the negative messages that we receive in the world around us. Here's a friendly reminder. We don't have to listen to any of that. We can acknowledge our challenges, vulnerabilities, disabilities, and choose how we engage with them. One of my go-to strategies is crying. Any situation, any emotion, the potential is always there. And every adventure partner that I have knows how to handle a crying Katie. Remember I told you that I lost my eyelashes on Kilimanjaro? I was crying. Mostly from joy, I think. And my tears froze to my face, and also my eyelashes, and they subsequently fell off. They do go back. I am prepared to bet that when I came out here, you had a reaction to my being in a wheelchair. Whatever that assumption was, you definitely had a first thought. That being unsaid, my vulnerabilities are quite obvious. I'm grateful that I don't have to spend any energy on figuring out what they are. It can be quite scary to put all of this out there for the world to judge. So find your catalysts, take a deep breath, and get ready for the ride that is life. I've learned that embracing that fear and owning my vulnerability, trusting that everything will work out and adventures will happen as they must, makes for a story worth telling. In closing, throughout my journey, I have learned that strength is not a solo mission. Strength is a collective action. We become strong when we share and embrace everything that we are and find common ground in the bravery of doing so. Thank you.